This is Tuna on Toast.
All right, K Flay is coming over to the house today. I'm working on my bad vibes, good vibes list, right? There she is. K Flay is here. All right, let's go greet her. Hi, who is it?
It's Christine Meredith Flaherty, aka K Flay.
Oh my God, Christine Meredith K Flay, aka K Flay. Yeah! How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, I'm excited and nervous that you're here, just so you know. Because the last time I think we were in person, it was like, remember the TV set?
Yes, I do remember that.
Since then, you released many songs, but there's one in particular which has led to a quick game I'd like to play with you.
Love it.
All right, follow me. This is a game that's called Bad Vibes, Good Vibes.
Okay.
I'm just gonna throw words, topics at you,
Uh-huh.
and it's your immediate response. Bad vibe, good vibe.
Easy, let's
okay,
go.
here we go. All right. There are correct answers in this, just so you know.
Great.
All right, roller coasters.
Bad vibes.
Correct. Sardines.
Good vibes.
Oh. Oh my God.
I actually have a, side note, I have a very wonderful art piece of a can of sardines featured in my kitchen.
Are you? How did that? That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Cherry Coke.
Oh, bad vibes.
Frozen bananas.
Bad
Okay.
vibes.
The window seat on an airplane.
Okay, for a morning flight when I want to sleep, good vibes.
Okay.
Any other flight because of constant hydration and peeing,
Yes.
bad vibes.
Okay. Oh, so you get up a lot during the flight if it's not an early morning?
1,000,000%. I'm like rolling down.
Okay, next one. Big dogs.
Oh, bad vibes.
Okay. Small dogs.
Somewhat of a bad.
Okay. Animals.
Good vibes.
Okay, all
for
right.
the world.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to own one.
Soft pretzels, specifically purchased at a mall.
Like Auntie Anne's.
Yes.
That's so like nuanced for me. Okay. Bad vibes.
Okay. Bad vibes. Cooking.
Good vibes.
Woman. Sports.
Good vibes.
Shorts on anybody.
Good vibes.
Whoa. Uggs.
Bad vibes.
Okay. Crocs.
Good vibes.
What? Okay. Candy corn.
Bad vibes. Good vibes for my mom though. My
Oh,
mom
really?
loves candy
Okay,
corn.
this is for your mom. As we are sitting here today, we're not too far away from Valentine's Day. Good or bad?
Bad vibes.
Bad vibes, of course. Last one, Tuna on Toast podcast.
Very good vibes.
All right, good job.
That was extremely invigorating. I feel like I need to start every day like that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I talk to myself.
You do? You said that's your spot right there.
Like I make sure that I know what's happening by narrating my life and activities to myself.
You do?
Yeah.
That makes it easier.
Well, it's kind of like it's like a verbal to-do list.
Yes, right. If I were making a full-length album this year, the first person I would call to write every damn song, produce it, and sing on the tracks with me would be my guest today. K Flay is at the house. Thanks for coming over.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here today.
All right, so for those of you listening, K Flay and I have already done some activities around the house. We played a game called Bad Vibes, Good Vibes that you can watch on the YouTube channel. So we've already did our big hellos, but that was the official intro.
Well, I enjoyed the official intro, and I would be honored to write all the songs on your album.
It would tank terribly. It would, I mean, because of me, not because of, like you would write. And they're like, how come this horrible singer?
No, I think you could. I think you could do like a Tom Waits thing and just like, or like a Lou Reed vibe, right? Like just if you're there with passion and grit,
Yes,
right? So there is.
I have
You
passion.
changed
I have grit.
Yeah,
I think I could do it.
I think you could do it.
Oh my goodness. All right. There's been so much conversation,
Yes.
both on camera, off camera. The yellow bottle drinking thing that you bought.
Yes.
Also known as a thermos. Is that called a thermos?
You know,
Or is that-
well, I call it a hydro flask because that's its brand name.
Okay.
I mean, I would call it a water bottle.
Okay, water bottle.
But it is a thermos, right? Like it retains the temperature.
And I'm trying to bring back the word thermos, just so you know. I feel
Okay.
like people lost it somewhere in like the early 90s.
People lost thermos. We're
Yes.
finding it again. This is a thermos. And one of the reasons, so Sean was asking, are you going to drink out of this? And my answer to that is, I don't know. but I need it here.
Okay.
And this relates to a thing that I have, which is water anxiety. Now, this was not brought to my attention until one of my very good friends, Noah, with whom I incidentally have a matching tattoo, which is kind of, that's rare.
Yeah.
Do you have any matching tattoos?
No, I don't.
Do you have any tattoos?
I have 0 tattoos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes you very unique. He was staying with me over the weekend, and we were talking about how we both have water anxiety.
What does that
everywhere?
mean?
So it's this just baseline fear that there won't be water, and we're gonna be thirsty. And as a consequence,
yes.
I mean, Emily, we have someone off screen who can vouch for this. Like I take liquids with me. Like I take water with me. This bottle comes with me. Like photo
Did you think I
shoots.
wouldn't have water available for you here?
Well, see, no, right? Like rationally, I can think like Stryker has a faucet at the
Right.
very least. Like there's tap water. But the idea that it's like my thing and it's here and it's always full. This even has a little ding on it because it's
noticed
been
that.
all over the world. This thing has traveled with me, truly all over the world.
And that's from Noah.
And this is not from Noah.
Okay.
This I bought myself
Okay.
with my own money that I
for you.
didn't earn from skydiving for a price. Yeah, and so I have this fear that I'm gonna need water and it's not gonna be available to me. And this was not brought to my attention until this weekend, when all the pieces came together, because I'm always carrying this thing. And the question is like, why would I be carrying this thing when everywhere I
Because
go
you're
there's
afraid
water?
of being out of water.
I'm afraid of being water anxiety.
My wife, named Katie,
Uh-huh.
is the exact same way as you when it comes to water.
Well,
If we are going to go on a drive to San Diego or Palm Springs, or we have to go to Vegas for work or something like that, and it's 5 a.m, I just want to get in the car and put my foot on the gas and go, and no distractions. We have to stop for water and the coffee. So we can't leave at 4 a.m. It's always has to be at 5 when the coffee place is open.
Yeah.
I can't go on the ride without liquid. And then as a result, an hour and 30 minutes into the drive, I have to pull over
Right.
so she can use the restroom.
yeah. Well, I relate. That's why I'm also walking the aisles of an airplane, is because I'm drinking a lot of water. Like I was actually just on a flight and I brought my own water, of course, but this is only 18 ounces or whatever it is.
Yes.
And I was on a long flight and I just was like, every time they came around with water, I took water. And then multiple times I went to the little flight attendant area
Yes.
and just took more water. I have a belief that like hydration, I need it.
I've never seen anyone so passionate about anything in life. And over the last many years, there are more important things to be passionate about. And I know you are, but seems like you're extremely passionate about. And I appreciate that at the same time.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I am passionate about this and other things.
Yes. Let's get into some other things.
We can get it.
Okay,
We can
we could
transition
talk
out of
about water
water
bottles all day
We
and
can
water,
transition out.
but I relate to it, and thank you for sharing that. Every time I see you at a concert now,
Yes.
or just maybe on YouTube, I'm going to think of you need water, or you're afraid of there not being any water, and hopefully whoever's around you has a bottle nearby.
And I'm unofficially sponsored by Pedialyte. Like that's the levels. Like that's where I'm at in life.
Unofficially. Well, maybe after this.
Listen, I'm kind of angling for a sponsorship. They've given me a lot
Product.
of stuff.
Oh, great.
They've given me product. They give me merch. Pedialyte makes very nice
Do they?
merch. Yeah.
Okay.
They're based in Columbus, Ohio. They really hooked me up.
Soft t-shirts or
Soft Hawaiian shirts,
Hawaiian
jean
shirts.
jackets. Listen. Anyway, I'm angling for the full sponsorship. Apparently, they're going for like the infant market more so than
right.
my demographic, but
All right.
alas.
As we sit here today, just so everybody knows, it's not even February. It's like middle January. Officially, it's confirmed you're hitting the road soon, right? That's
Yes.
happening. Good for you.
Thank you.
Are you in the starting blocks right now, Kate? Like, are you excited, nervous? Are you just dying to get out of the city? What's your train of thought right now in this?
My headspace
Yeah.
is, so we played like a month or so of shows last year. So I have broken the ice in terms of just like being back out on the road. But this is it's always different for a headline tour.
Right.
And we're really, we're planning an experience. And I'm doing something pretty cool, which is, for every tour, I'm always trying to think like, how do we number one, reflect the music? And then number two, how do we create a new experience for people, especially there's a lot of folks who've been to the show before. So a couple tours ago, we did like, a big LED video wall. Last tour, we did this like gigantic like plexiglass pyramid set piece that I sort of like climbed on, and my band was like ensconced in. It was very, very cool. So I was thinking, I've done these like incredibly visual elements. Where could I push myself? And I really, my head just went to like intimacy and performance. And so this tour is like also a storytelling. It has like a theatrical element.
Wow.
And it's really cool. So I've kind of, alongside performing the songs and really working on making those things seamless, it is about telling a story about the voices in my head, which is the concept of this last record.
Inside voices.
Outside voices.
And outside voices, right.
And so, so I'm like, it's a kind of it's like a whole ass thing.
That's amazing. I would think, and I'm an outsider, that one has to be extremely confident to follow through with all this stuff. You're going on the road and you're taking this idea and you're going to do it on stage, as you said.
Yeah.
Do you get nerves, not necessarily performing, but making sure all these things that you see in your head happening actually happen? Is it tough?
It is tough. And actually, we were talking on the way over about like how having a team of people that you trust allows you to achieve things, which seems like a fairly obvious conclusion to reach, but really is true. Like, I think tours are such a team effort, right? Like, you've got your touring crew, you've also got your management. And I was actually saying to my manager the other day, he had been pushing me. He was like, I really think you should like try out working with an acting coach for some of this. Like, 'cause I've never, prior to becoming a musician, I was never on stage. Like, I wasn't a kid who performed or was involved in anything like that. So I don't really have any training or experience outside of the first time I got on stage and, made
That's 10 years ago at least, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've had, and I feel like I've got that experience of performing in the context of, these are my songs, right? But performing in the context of, I want to communicate a story and I'm going to do it in a little bit of a dramatic fashion.
Yeah.
That feels like new territory. So one of my friends who is an actor, I hooked me up with someone, and it's been extremely exciting and interesting, just in terms of a way to approach the world. Like, because the way that we've been talking is like everything, not in a jaded way, is a performance.
Right.
Right?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
So like socially, how we interact is a performance.
Yes.
And in every situation, you have an objective and a desire to communicate something, and your body language and your tone changes because of that. And so just thinking about how I want to tell this story, that it has these different chapters, who am I talking to? Like, in my mind's eye. And what do I want to try to tell them? Like, do I want to get them excited?
So tough and so exciting at the same time.
Yeah. And like her whole point is, it's really natural. You're doing it every day. Like, sometimes you get on the phone and you want to like rile someone up. Sometimes you get on the phone and you want to be really vulnerable and share something. And so just tapping into these things we do naturally is kind of the exercise. So this has been a very circuitous answer, but I'm in the midst of, I guess, kind of honing the show. Everything's written, all of our transitions, like the band's going. I've been rehearsing just on my own. And then in a couple weeks, I head to Nashville for actual rehearsal.
Excellent. Does the acting coach listen to like TGIF or My Name Isn't Catherine beforehand to get a sense of like, hold on, I want to know about this person before we come face to face or Zoom or however you do it?
So we approached it. We met without her listening to the music, which I actually think was the correct thing to do. And then she was listening over the weekend. And I was like, also, I'm sorry about the profanity. And she was like, why would I care? And I was like, that's a good point. I don't know why you would care. Like, you just seem like an intellectual person, and I would hate to be crass in front of you, but here I am. Here I am. Yeah, so we'll see. I'm meeting with her again on Wednesday. And it's just, I think, so many times we approach a situation and worry that it means we don't know how to do something, right? When we're like seeking guidance or seeking help, that it reflects poorly on us. But in a weird way, it's expansive, and it reflects well on us that we're open to learning.
Yes.
And that's actually really exciting and a good reminder.
I know the tour is going to go great. Thank you for sharing all that. That is so interesting. If I said the tour actually starts tomorrow, you ready? Or you need a few more days?
I need a couple weeks. Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember every lyric every single time you perform?
Sometimes. So there's a couple songs I sometimes like space out a little bit.
Is it because of the song, or you're focused on someone in the front row?
Okay, there's like a couple reasons. So there's a couple songs where the lyrics, no offense to myself, aren't as good, I would say. Like, or they're kind of more generic in a sense. Like I have a song called FML, and it's like, I'm sort of saying, it's all about like, I'm pushing the limits of life, right? And I hate it and I love it. But the verse lyrics are not super specific in a way. So sometimes I mix them up. Sometimes I start the song and I start the second verse. Then I'm like, okay, I did this out of order. And that's I think one of the great skills I've learned in performing, and I would imagine you feel the same way, is flexibility, right? Like,
right.
Things don't always go as you plan.
Especially when it's live.
Right.
Because it could go haywire, but maybe you could be the only one that knows, I think I'm off track here. Let me try to get back to where I need to go.
Right. And such a huge part of, I think, being a performer and particularly being a front person is you're setting the tone, right? So people can tell when you're uncomfortable, whether it's very subtle, but people can tell. And so I've learned that the most important thing is to just stay loose and stay comfortable, even when I make often egregious errors.
What's an egregious error?
Yeah, like singing, like I've done, for instance, I've like sung verse 1, then verse 2 comes around and I just hit it one more time.
Verse 1 again. That's charming, though. I mean, that's bound to happen.
Right.
You do so many performances, night after night after night.
And sometimes you just, for me with lyrics, it's like the first line. And if the first line goes wrong,
yes,
I'm on a whole nother train track. And I think, the point about mistakes being part of the live experience and being charming and therefore possibly not even being mistakes.
Yes.
Like reconceptualizing it just as part of this experience, that things go differently than the recorded version. Things sound different because partially we do that intentionally.
Right.
Has been really good to remember just in life. And I think often when we're vulnerable or we slip up, we're like self-conscious and we're like, I'm so sorry. And then people are like, no, I loved that.
Vulnerability is such a lovely quality, I believe. And I've been a zillion shows, and you have too. I like when a band starts, artist starts, and 10 seconds later, like, hold on a minute, stop. I messed that up. Everyone laughs. We're like, okay, let's try this one more effing time. 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you get right through it.
Totally. And, I think that attitude belies a confidence, right? The ability to stop the song, just be like, yeah, I fucked that up.
Yes.
Instead of kind of shrinking in the face of that vulnerability, but really like stepping up and stepping into it. That's exciting to see. And I've told this story before, but one of the first concerts I went to that really meant something to me was Liz Phair was doing the 15th anniversary of Exile in Guyville.
Okay, yes.
I was in college.
Where was that at? In Northern California somewhere?
Yeah, that was at the Fillmore in San Francisco. And she was just doing the record start to finish. And it was really cool because the crowd was like people my age, like, 20 or whatever, and then people who were 35, like people who had been 20 when it came out.
They experienced it the first time it came around.
Right. And
first
then people
reaction
who now
in
were
real time.
20.
Yeah.
And so it was a really cool crowd. And she did the record, start to finish. And then we're all screaming, come back, do more.
Yeah.
And she came on, and it's like one of the only genuine encores I've ever witnessed. She was like, I don't have anything planned. And like, I didn't know if people would come to the show. Like, I didn't know how this was going to go. And now as a performer, I relate to that because sometimes you just don't. At the time, I was so flabbergasted. I was like, she didn't think anyone would show up. It's sold out, And so she started playing Polyester Bride, didn't know the chords. People in the crowd were like, E minor, And it was such a charming moment. And I never forgot that. And it was really genuine. And I think that, again, stepping into your own vulnerability as a performer is the best thing you can do for an audience.
And one note that I'm going to keep about something that you just said was you need to be, as best as you can, relax as possible. But it's much easier said than done. I mean, even some of the best actors will say, believe it or not, I wasn't relaxed right there. And then I watch someone like Robert Downey Jr. act. He looks like it's the easiest thing in the world, but he's prepped probably for hours, and he's just so relaxed, which is why those performances, and I'm saying him in particular because I watch him like, look at this dude out there.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Well, I think part of being relaxed is being very present in the moment so that even when things go wrong, you're there with it. You're not 10 steps ahead thinking about, what's this going to look like? Oh my God, what's it? You're just kind of in it.
Yeah.
And that looseness is really hard to achieve takes a lot of time and takes practice.
Right.
But it's an exciting, it's an exciting state to be in because it's you're alive.
Speaking of relaxed or not relaxed and being alive, you put out Inside Voices, great songs. Outside Voices, great songs. 2 EPs.
Yes.
Back to back in the same year. Before you release, whether it's one song one day or here's 3 more one day, do you get anxiety? Or are you someone, once it's done, it's out of your hands and you just go and live your life? And if one person likes it or 10 million streams here, how does it work for you?
I think it changes depending on the circumstance. In general, I would say there's a sense of relief and accomplishment when we put something out because it really is, it's a team effort. And there's something wonderful about seeing what essentially was nothing, meaning a thought,
right,
germinate into a song and artwork and a video and, whatever the accompanying things are. And that feels like something to celebrate. So I feel good and happy when I release music.
Great. Good.
I think I've adopted, and I don't always, sometimes I can go into an adjacent negative spiral, but for the most part, I feel like the world of music right now is so unpredictable and lawless that there's a liberation to that. Like, I've been having an interesting experience this year because an older song of mine called High Enough is like, has had this resurgence because of TikTok. Like it's like a big thing on TikTok, right? Like, so all these people are listening to a song I put out 4 years ago.
Right.
And
which album, where was High Enough on?
this is on Everywhere Somewhere. So this is the same record as Blood in the Cut.
Wow,
This
yes.
was, and I always loved that song. It didn't kind of get its like whatever at the time. Like it did well and was played on the radio and stuff, but it is by a factor of 2 the like most popular song of mine.
No.
Yeah. Like I think we're at like 160 million streams of that song just because of TikTok.
My hope is, and you don't have to say this, because I support and love artists in every way, especially when they create music that I gravitate to. And you've been doing that for me, not necessarily since day one, but once I learned of you. that everyone that's finding you on TikTok goes to listen to the other songs.
Yeah.
Because they're so good. And you're so honest with the lyrics, and it can be about something way over here to the right. I'm not talking about politically, but feelings over here to the right, feelings over here to the left. So I hope they do a deep dive on K-Flay.
Yeah, and I hope so too. And I think some people are. You know, I think
good.
of course some people are just they like that song, which is fine.
Yeah.
People
But
are allowed
sometimes
to.
it takes just one song for someone to just pay for a concert ticket or
For
buy
sure.
a shirt or something.
For sure. And so I think the general, again, lawlessness feels like the right adjective of the music industry right now, has made me feel a little bit more at peace when I put something out of like,
Cool.
this doesn't need to hit today. I don't know when someone's going to connect with it. Maybe it's on release day. I also don't know how many people are going to connect with it. Maybe it's 10,000. Maybe it's 10 million, whatever.
Yeah.
And I need to be okay with that. And I need to understand that I've kind of committed my life to creating a body of work, right? And playing a long game, right? Like just settling into this creative life. And the more I think I can adopt that mentality, and I think I have over time, it makes releases much less anxiety filled and much more like what they are, which is a release.
Right. Yeah.
Like it is a release of like tension and energy, and then that's done.
That is such a great mindset. And I think you've built up so much credibility with people that listen to music and those that create it. Like my friends Tony and Mike do. I got it. Oh, I forgot my glasses in the other room.
Oh.
But these are just a few of the artists that you have collaborated with. And
Okay.
I'm just going to go through this quickly.
Yes.
We don't have to talk about each one. But Tom Morello, Tom DeLonge, Bishop Briggs, Walk the Moon, Shinoda. By the way, all of those have been on this podcast, whether you're writing or singing with them, Grandson, etc. Do you have to adapt or adopt to something they're looking for in a song, or you just do it? I'm K-Flay, I'm feeling this right now. How does it work for collabs with you?
That's a great question. I think it totally depends. So if I'm coming on to feature on a track, right, like as K-Flay, I'm definitely bringing my sensibility because I think that's a part of it, right? Like when you get in a room with somebody and you're kind of doing a featuring situation, you're mashing up your two sensibilities. So, and thereby allowing each one of you to get a little bit outside of your sensibility. So if I'm featuring on a Grandson track, I'm kind of giving myself a little bit of license to do like a Jordan thing, right? And like Jordan's giving himself a little bit of license to do a Christine thing.
Yes.
And there's something really playful and liberating about that. When I've written for other artists' projects where I'm really just, then I have a total mental switch. I'm part of the team, right? Like I'm here to support your vision. How can I help?
Is that
right?
hard to get in that mind space where it's like, okay, I'm here to help you. You have to realize it's not the K-Flay operation right now.
Right.
It's this other operation.
That's not hard at all. It's actually really fun. And with Walk the Moon, just taking a recent example of a song, I co-wrote their single, Can You Handle My Love?
Yeah.
And I worked on that with one of my very frequent collaborators, one of my best friends, Tommy English. And, Tommy and Nick and I got in a room and just started working on things. And I think, talking to Nick, it's like,
Nick from Walk the Moon.
Sorry, Nick from Walk the Moon. What's your headspace? Where are you looking to go? And then me just kind of silently thinking, how can I help? Maybe, I think often for me, it's a lot of lyric ideas and little sparks of inspiration for people. I mean, Nick, for instance, is an incredible, like his understanding of melody is extremely robust and excellent. So I'm kind of like, Nick doesn't need my help with melody. Nick's like, fine. Where can I add and where can I push and maybe inspire something is like perhaps more in the rhythm and lyric department. And I don't know, just kind of like, I've always liked being a part of a team and songwriting with others. It feels really natural. And, Bishop, Sarah's one of my has become one of my really close friends. And so for us, writing together is like, I mean, that's very easy, right? Because we know each other, and I know her really well, and I can tell when something's exciting, when something's not exciting, when, and just being that support person. I think I don't know. I really enjoy that. I don't always like being, up front. I like being in the back.
I mean, sometimes there's got to be just a little bit less. Sorry to keep bringing up pressure, but like a little less pressure when you're like on somebody else's thing and you're working your butt off with them and for them. But when it's all done, it's kind of most of it is on them.
Yeah, and I think what's been cool is because I have the experience and perspective of being, like, as I like to say, just like the asshole who has to do it on stage, right? Like, you understand what writing a song means.
Right.
Because, like, you might have to play that for 10 years. You might have to get on stage and, like, do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it matters. And so I have a very relaxed attitude about songwriting, in that if we get together and we drink coffee and we talk about water anxiety, and then that's fine, right. And there is no pressure. Like, we all have a goal to create something, but at the same time, creating something is a long process,
right?
And very weird, Sometimes I was listening to a really great interview. So I recently read the book The Plot.
Okay.
Which is I highly recommend it. The author is Jean Hanff Korelitz. She actually wrote the novel upon which the series The Undoing was based on.
Okay.
If anybody watched that, or if you watched that.
I didn't see The Undoing.
And the brief synopsis of The Plot is that, this is just a side note, but there's a guy, he's sort of a failed novelist. He had a critically acclaimed first novel. He's gone on to just sort of like, not really do anything of note. He has a student in one of his MFA programs who has this amazing idea for a novel, sort of a bulletproof plot.
Okay.
And then he finds out that student has died. And that book was never written. There's no manuscript. And so he decides to write that book.
Based on the plot the student told him.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's all I'll
This is good.
say.
Oh my God, no, keep.
And that's I don't want to say any more because then I'll be spoiling.
And this is a book.
This is a novel.
Tell me when it's going to be a Netflix series, and then I will
I'm sure it's already been optioned. But it's called The Plot, and it's really interesting. And I was listening to an interview with the author after I read it, and she said the idea for this came to her in a meeting with her agent while the agent was rejecting one of her other books, was being like, we're not going to publish that. And she's like, well, I do have this other idea. And then wrote this book in 4 months. And then she was saying one of her other books took her 20 years to write. Like, in a fashion, right?
Yes, yeah.
And I think that's really, I mean, I don't think songs usually take 20 years because they're shorter, but I think that's very similar with songs. Some things, like, you just write. Some things just happen. And then some things take time.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's nice to, like, when I work with other people, to remember that, because I think there can be, as you say, a pressure, especially in a songwriting sense. Like, we got to get the song today. We've got 6 hours. Like, well, okay. We've got more than 6 hours.
Do you do or speak into your phone and say 5 words at a time? And like, oh, I just thought of this phrase? Or are you someone who sits down and does 10 lines at a time? Like, if you're driving and you see something or think of something, what do you do?
More of the 10 lines at a time.
You do.
I don't, some people keep, like, notes in their phone of, like, little phrases.
Right. Yes.
I don't do that.
Yes.
Like, I have no.
People in here tell me that. They're like,
Yeah.
My partner or whatever said this, and then I use it in a song 3 years later.
Yeah, I probably should do that. I don't do that. Sometimes I come in a session and people are like, you have any, like, stuff written down? I'm like, literally nothing.
Literally nothing.
I'm utterly unprepared.
Yes.
But I get more inspired by what's happening in the moment and what music conjures. Because usually, like, those phrases or those thoughts are somewhere in my head.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we hear, like, that riff or that chord progression, and it just, I think I have a more stream of consciousness way of writing. And that's what's worked for me in the past. And what feels exciting. I think writing to strict concepts doesn't always. I'm not always as
That's not for you,
prolific
right there. Okay.
in that manner.
All right. Do you get down on yourself if you're attempting to get a song done? And even though you talk about there takes time, but you feel like I'm in the zone right now. I know how this is supposed to go. And then you hear it and you're like, I stink. This stinks.
That is a good question. I don't think I've ever had that response.
Okay. I do it about myself all the time.
Yeah.
So you know.
I mean, I don't think you stink.
Thank you for saying that. But I'll look at something like, oh boy, I stink. I need to get out of this business.
I guess the way that I feel about it is if I get to the end point of a song and it's mediocre, because at this point I'm like decent enough, right? That like what I make is at least okay usually,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like it's not like, wow, that was horrendous. Like that, I couldn't listen to that. Right? Like I'm at least at the point of like sort of a modicum of proficiency that things sound all right. But I think when I hear something, having just the wherewithal to say, that's kind of mediocre, it almost makes me feel good because I know I have to go through a certain amount of mediocre ideas to hit a special idea.
Gotcha.
So it's almost like part of the creative process for me is writing a bunch of like medium good stuff and then hitting upon something that at least to me feels special. So it's like, that's practice, to quote Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice.
Not the game.
Not the game. We're talking about practice.
Right.
Should we do a count now? This is a very obscure sports reference.
Playoffs.
It's
Do you know that one? Do you know that reference? It's something
No.
else. Okay, forget it. Moving on.
Also,
Yes.
do you watch sports?
Yes.
Okay, I will just take a second to say I grew up outside of Chicago, and historically I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. Like grew up in kind of the post, golden age and whatever.
Yes.
And I witnessed DeMar DeRozan. Have you seen any of these highlights?
No, he's on the Bulls now.
He's on the Bulls now.
Right.
So DeMar DeRozan has a great story and is like kind of a new inspirational person to me. So DeMar, if you're listening to this,
He may.
He may.
We're big in Chicago and with the Bulls.
Okay. Well, DeMar DeRozan, if you're listening, where are you? I'm like looking, DeMar DeRozan, if you're listening, I'm like so inspired by his like his life story, kind of like what's been happening recently with his career. And then just a couple weeks ago, he hit 2 buzzer beaters. I watched both games.
Were they back-to-back buzzer beaters?
Back-to-back games, true buzzer beaters. Like the clock is down to 0 by the time the ball goes through the net, and won 2 games in a row. It's the only time it's ever happened in NBA history.
Good for him. That's
and
awesome.
like my brother and I were like, holy shit, that was like actually historic. We just watched that. We just happened to be watching this. I don't know why I'm talking about this.
That's all right. We're all over the place. So the Bulls are doing pretty good this year.
The Bulls are doing good.
They're looking good. Is Lauri Markkanen still on the team? Markkanen?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I liked him in college at U of A, and then the Bulls drafted him a few years ago, but I don't know if he's still on the team.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Zach LaVine is like...
That guy's awesome.
He's right.
I'm sorry.
Awesome.
Are the Bears still in the NFL or not? They're still allowed to be in the
Listen,
league?
I have a lot of thoughts on football. Bad vibes.
Bad vibes.
I don't care about football.
You do or you don't?
I do not care about football.
You do not care about football.
No.
But you like NBA, you like Major League Baseball, you Cubs fan or White Sox?
No, baseball. Literally, how many games are we talking about? That's how we got to it. Practice.
Yes, practice.
Sorry, I'm like wondering why are we talking about this now? I think Major League Baseball, God love
Here we go.
baseball fans.
Okay.
It's too much time. I don't have time to watch 160 games or whatever that are all 4 hours and are pretty slow and like, what's really going on here? Field's big. I can't really see anyone's face. Everyone looks the same.
Those perfect athletic bodies with like, aren't they? Baseball players?
Baseball?
Don't they have really good bodies?
Basketball players have good bodies.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Okay, and then here's a whole nother thing.
Okay.
Football, hockey, baseball, what's everyone got on their face and head? Helmet. Who knows what anyone looks like, really?
Right.
Do I relate to these people? It's hard to say. I can't tell you. Maybe I saw Rob Gronkowski, whatever his name is.
Yes.
Like, partying in Miami, and I saw a photo. Maybe that's how I know what he looks like. But I definitely know what DeMar DeRozan looks like because he's not wearing a helmet. And you can really see their faces. And there's
you can
only
see if there's any tattoos and the shorts and the body. Yeah, the whole thing. Okay, that makes sense.
So I feel really connected to basketball players because you can see them. It's also not a violent sport. It's a really graceful, beautiful sport. It's fast-paced. It's teamwork. I've been paid by the NBA to say all of these
Can we
things.
have a bet on this season? Can we have a bet right now? I'll take the Lakers. You take the Bulls. Who goes farther this? The Lakers are not doing that.
Yeah, the Bulls.
So what are we gonna bet?
You're gonna eat a can of sardines.
Oh my God.
And I'm going to if the Bulls go further than the Lakers.
Right, not best record at the end of the year. This is about playoffs.
Ah.
Who goes farther?
Okay.
No, they're in the East, Lakers
Right,
West.
right.
Whoever goes.
I'm still gonna bet on the Bulls.
Okay, so sardines for me. What's your least favorite food, but a food that you like of all time?
I don't really like mushrooms.
Okay.
I had to eat a mushroom soup this weekend. My friend made it for me.
Was it terrible?
No, but I was, I ate it. It was not my favorite.
How about this? I have something.
Okay.
If the Bulls do better than the Lakers, I eat sardines.
Okay.
If the Lakers do better,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope this is not too self-serving. If it is, just say Stryker, shut up. I get a shout out for 5 seconds at a K-Flay concert.
Oh.
In between songs. Da-da-da-da-da. Stryker's better than me in sports. Here's a song.
Yeah. Okay. When do the playoffs happen?
When
do they start?
A couple more. I think a month away.
Okay. So my LA show. So here we go.
Okay.
My LA show is March 13th.
The season for sure is in full swing still.
Okay.
In the future, maybe in 1 year, 2 years, 4 years
I'll
from
do
now.
something. I'll post it on the internet.
Okay. And I will post myself eating sardines.
Yeah, or I'll just come over and watch you do it.
Okay, that sounds like a great plan. Okay, let's rewind a little bit. Oh man, we're almost already 40 minutes into this thing.
Yes.
K-Flay.
Yes.
I'm not trying to create bad vibes, but it's a real question.
Okay.
Your experience at your first major 10 years ago, RCA, if you look back now, is it fine? Does it bother you? Or is it just a learning experience?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, a total learning experience. I have no bad vibes.
Oh, okay.
I actually am kind of grateful that I had the experience and was never able to release an album because I don't think I understood what I wanted to do. It was a kind of typical like get signed off the songs doing well on the internet, get signed, and then get thrown into the ringer of like working with all these different producers, and I just didn't have a sense of how to navigate that. I didn't have a sense of really what I wanted to say on some level. And so strangely enough, I got in advance, so I had some money to live off of, and I got time to make a bunch of music and learn from all these different producers and people I met along the way and start to see like, oh, I like this, I don't like this. And then leave and then put out my first record just totally independently without any kind of outside influence. And so I'm really grateful for it and have no bad feelings whatsoever, actually. Everyone there was really like gracious with me. And in fact, when I had said like, my manager and I were like, yeah, can you like let us leave? They said, sure. Like you can't put out the songs, but leave. And at first I was like saddened by that, but that was actually a great gift. It forced me to start over. And that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Wow. And I imagine just hearing that story that a lot of young, talented people are so happy to get this record deal.
Yeah. And
then it's just like a little bit overwhelming or a lot overwhelming when 50,000 pieces are moving at once and you're meeting with this person who you may not know, and maybe you don't let your guard down like you should in the studio to be your truth. And it's just like, whoa, hold on a minute. So, and then you were able to get out of that deal, but you couldn't bring any of the songs with you. That's a blessing. So what was your next step after that professionally, and how the hell did you get it done?
Next step was putting out my first record, which is called Life is a Dog.
Yes.
Like a light, cult classic or something like
The song
that.
Bad Things I really like on that.
Thank you. That record was, so that was like basically got dropped. Had a couple months of like, what am I gonna do? And my manager Seth and I were just sort of like, well, we've got some, I was starting to write more songs, and we were like, why don't we just put something out ourselves? And we crowdfunded it. So this is like, we didn't do it on Kickstarter. We did it on something called Pledge Music.
Okay. Yep.
And just created like a bunch of cool experiences and things for people to support the record. And I at that point had begun touring, so I had like a fan base. And yeah, they like overfunded the record, and I had
Wow.
money to put it out. And then I went on Warped Tour, and then that was like, that's when I started really kind of my career in earnest. And I think that experience of accountability to the people who participated in this record, accountability to my manager. I mean, we started our own little independent record label. It's called Bummer Picnic Records. To do this, it was a really bonding experience for my manager and me. We were already very close, but like, it just was a different type of trust, right? Like, we're kind of like, okay, we're in this together. And then a different type of trust with the fans. Like, I really need to show up. I need to do a good job with this.
Right.
I started playing with a band live, right? Like, I added a guitarist to the mix, and I started thinking about live instrumentation. What am I actually doing up here? Why am I doing any of this? So I put out that record, was very, had a great experience with that.
And the Warped Tour, quickly about,
Yes.
or not quickly, Warped
Yes.
Tour. Who were some of the other artists that you were touring around with on that particular Warped Tour?
So that Warped Tour, there were, there's a lot of different bands. I
Right.
was on the, I guess it was at that time the Beatport stage. It was
Okay.
like the Spotify Beatport. It's like the people who kind of like don't totally fit in to the like typical Warped Tour scene. Some of the bands that were on that year, so I shared a bus with a band called Plague Vendor.
Okay.
And they're LA based. They're awesome. Brandon, who's the front man for that band, is like, he was one of the first people I ever kind of knew personally who was a really great front person, like a very dynamic, he's like quite thin and like sort of an Iggy Pop energy.
Yes.
And like watching that was really exciting every day. There's an artist, George Watsky, who was also on that tour with us, and a lot of members of his crew became really good friends of mine, like even to this day.
Right.
One of their birthdays is tomorrow. Nils, happy birthday in advance. And yeah, just all the story so far was on that year's, like I kind of got introduced to them and their music. Less Than Jake, of course, was on it.
Oh,
Like
wow.
I think they were having that year their 365th day on Warped Tour.
Oh
They
my
have spent
gosh.
like over a year of their life on Warped Tour.
Was it a bonding experience, the whole thing for you? Was it something that you were attracted to after it was done? Were you like, that was for me?
That, I wouldn't call it a bonding experience. I would call it a formative experience.
Okay.
Some of the people I really made bonds with, and I think there's, you meet people out and about, and it's like, oh, you did Warped Tour? Me too. Like, there's a little bit of a tacit understanding about what that experience entails, all of the wonderful parts of it and all of the challenging parts. And so I think for me, the biggest thing I learned on Warped Tour was, or the biggest lesson for me was, I need to learn how to put on a good show, like in the baking hot sun at 11 a.m. And that's hard to do,
Right.
actually.
I bet it is. It's got to be, yeah.
Because like if it's 10 p.m., everyone's a little tipsy, there's fog, you're in a club, there's lights. Like, okay, you can kind of just do whatever and it looks a little bit cool.
Yeah.
Warped Tour is not that. it's very much like, what is this performance giving to people? Are you really connected? Are you drawing people in? How are you expressing yourself? Does it stand out? Because someone can just like go like eat a hot dog and leave.
Right.
Right. And that might be better than your show.
And
like,
you may spot them walking away, that could play tricks on your
definitely
mind.
spotted that. Definitely saw some people just like, go get a hot dog.
Yeah.
And I think that humbling and that recognition was very, very crucial for me to experience. And I'm really grateful for that.
Okay, so it's Warped Tour. You put out Life is a Dog on your own, and then a couple years later, is Crush Me the first bit of music that you did since the full length? All right.
So I started like making music. I'm just like, wow, I love being independent. Never need to be on a label. Life's good.
Yeah.
And then I get an email from Dan Reynolds.
From Imagine Dragons.
Imagine Dragons, who I like, obviously I knew Imagine Dragons songs because I was a breathing human.
Right.
But I didn't know that much about Dan. I didn't really know a ton about the band's history or what he was up to. And he, we started chatting. He's like, I want to start an imprint. We're kind of taking a little time between records, and I'm interested in signing you to it. And so you'll be on Interscope. And then I'm kind of, Seth and I are kind of like, I don't know, should we? But Dan and I just had such a great connection as people.
Yeah.
And I think he really felt passionate about using his platform and kind of like power within the building to help somebody who was doing something a little different.
Yeah, yeah.
And which was me.
It's got to feel so validated and so good that this person is reaching out who spotted you somewhere, who knows how, where, when, why. And it's like, let's do something together.
Yeah. And, I think the best part of this job is just the actual relationships I've built and friendships. And it was really nice to be able to kind of have Dan as like a mentor and a friend in that capacity. And so to be in a label environment, but kind of like be insulated from it in a weird way was really, really great. So I did Crush Me was the EP, which then became the record Everywhere Somewhere.
Yes.
And that record, was a very game-changing record for me.
Absolutely. Were you ready for the avalanche of new ears and eyeballs on you? I mean, it wasn't your first day on the job when that happened. You've been doing it a bit at that time. What was it like?
It was exciting. I think it didn't feel sudden. And I've never had a huge moment in my career where I was like now I'm famous, know, or like what? Yeah. It's just, I feel like it's been a very steady, a steady progression, right? Like, and steady growth. And that felt like a big part of it. And it was exciting to be challenged, to do new things, like to play on live television, I opened for Imagine Dragons on a very lengthy arena tour. What that experience was like, not playing in a theater or a club. So that record gave me a lot of opportunities to get outside of my comfort zone. In retrospect, did I always do the best job? No, because I also didn't know what I was doing. It was my first time. But that's part of it, right? Like you don't grow without doing that.
For sure.
So yes, I was ready. Could I probably do a better job now on certain things? Yeah.
Yeah, but you've been doing it 5 years since that, since that time.
Exactly. So
are you mad at the Foo Fighters? Do you want to beat them up because they won the Grammy for Best Rock Song that year? Do you want, we can find Dave Grohl in the valley somewhere, throw tomatoes at him?
I do not blame Dave Grohl for that. I blame the forces much. I don't blame anyone, in fact. It was very shocking to be. I don't think I ever considered like some of these more traditional old school like validating institutions as that they would ever be part of my story. So I didn't know that Grammy nominations were happening. Like I wasn't aware of any of this.
It wasn't, no one said to you, hey, there's a chance.
I didn't vote. No, I didn't vote for myself. I didn't even know, you know what I mean? Like, so it was extremely shocking to me. I was actually like gobsmacked.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It's kind of like, I'm just like, I don't belong here. You know, like what? That's kind of this. And not
As an
in
outsider, I
yeah.
think you did and do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it's also hard with music because there's so much music. Like, how do you give it best rock song? I don't know. There's like, how many rock songs got put out?
Yeah, exactly.
Too
But when
many.
it's like K, Flay, Avenged Sevenfold, Metallica, Foo Fighters,
I know.
I root for bands, and to see artists who are on the younger side in their career or early in their career
Yeah.
get that validation excites me. I also am someone that cares a lot about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because the bands that inspired my taste or like made me happy throughout the years, I want them to be recognized.
Yeah.
So
well,
I care probably more than the artists for that kind of stuff.
yeah. And I think, you know, for like putting your mental or emotional energy in kind of like random sources of validation is a dangerous game to play, right? Like, so it's almost like something like getting nominated for a Grammy. It feels like at the end of a delicious meal, someone's like, oh, hey, here's like fucking dessert, you know? And you're just like, oh, sick. Right? Like, didn't need it. They're kind of full already, right? Like, here's the great, this tasty dessert.
Yeah.
I'll just move along. That's kind of how it felt, was like definitely surreal, positive, but it didn't change the way like I view myself or
Or the way you wrote Solutions or produced it and
no,
okay.
just like, you know, yeah, it didn't. I don't know if that's weird.
No, I don't think
not.
it's weird. I
Also,
think it's good.
I'm
I think you
about to
come from
take-
yes.
I
Take a
needed
sip
the
of
water.
How's the
Okay.
coffee level?
The coffee is really good.
Good. Okay.
Thank
Good,
you
good,
for this
good.
coffee.
You're very welcome. K Flay drinking on camera. Here we go. You are a music making machine. I love that you said that, or not that you said, but it's it hasn't been one thing in your career where all of a sudden you were at this level and you went all the way to the sky. It's this, you're going up. It's perfect. It's a perfect ascent. And I think as a result of TikTok, as you just said, and the songwriting you continue to do and the artists you work with, it's like, I feel like you're an unstoppable force now, really.
Thank
like,
you.
Just, you've set yourself up for years and years and years because of the talent. It's not just like one random thing that you can do.
No, I appreciate that. I think, you know, my perspective on like my role in this industry and like my purpose in life, for lack of a better way to put it, has changed a lot, right? Like, and I think a cool thing that's happened as I've gotten older and I've done this for a longer time is just like, it is ego death, right? So when you asked me, is it easy to take a backseat and help somebody else write a song as an invisible player? Like, yes, it's wonderful, you know. And I think the ego death and the clarity that comes with learning and growing is really cool. And the more I can apply that to what I make musically,
Yeah.
the more like exciting that is, and it's just thrilling to do it. And it's thrilling that every day is different, and every day could change my life or just not at all.
That's a perfect way to end this thing, right? That is perfect right there. Good luck on the road.
Thank you so much.
I also secretly hope that as a result of meeting with the acting teacher, we're going to see you on like General Hospital one day.
Oh God, no, I have no aspirations of acting. Though, that being said, I grew up really at the altar of soap operas. So I have great reverence for soap operas. Is General Hospital still on?
I'm not sure. Days of Our Lives, I think, is still on.
Okay. Well, I grew up on All My Children and One Life to Live.
Okay.
And those have sadly been canceled. And I actually have a shrine to Susan Lucci in my house.
You do?
Yeah, so don't worry about that. Yeah.
I wonder what percentage of people listening or watching know Susan Lucci. She's referenced a lot everywhere.
I mean, Susan Lucci is an icon. If you don't know who she is, like DeMar DeRozan, Susan Lucci, these are a couple of my personal heroes. And as we've stated at the beginning, I've devoted my life to Tom Morello. So those are the three key people: Tom Morello, Susan Lucci, and DeMar DeRozan.
It's a great list right there.
I agree.
What's your favorite TV show of all time? Scripted TV show.
Oh, scripted TV show. Parks and Rec.
Really? Parks
Yeah.
and Rec. Okay. What about drama? Did you watch Mad Men, Breaking
Mad
Bad?
Men. Mad Men.
Oh man.
Peggy. The Peggy Dawn.
Yes.
The Peggy Dawn energy, strong.
Yes.
Love that relationship. It's very powerful when there is like a potential sexual energy between two people that is never realized and the relationship remains platonic. And actually, Liz Lemon and Jack Donaghy in 30 Rock are another good example of that.
I love when
never
it doesn't come to
happens.
fruition.
Yeah, like why is it coming? That's
Yes.
to me. That's the problem with Friends. Like, what are these people? Everyone's dating each other.
I'm not a cool person, so I'm not trying to be cool. I never saw Friends.
What?
I've seen every episode of Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm. I like TV. I love television.
You've seen an episode.
I've seen 22 minutes here and there, and I can name the characters, and I could recognize
Wow.
them. I respect them. I know it's a great show. Like I love Frasier, the TV show Frasier.
Okay.
I like Grounded for Life. I like scripted comedies.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I don't know why.
So the clickbait for this is that Stryker hates Friends and has personal.
And Jennifer Aniston is
Beef
not
with
a good
Jennifer
actor. I don't know why she's famous. She's not a good person.
My gripe with Friends is just like when Rachel started dating Joey, I was like, okay, this thing is like cuckoo. I gotta get out of here. I didn't like that. I like Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec is great because there's a little romance that is good and we like.
Yes.
But it's really at its heart. To me, Parks and Rec is a good reminder. Like Leslie Knope, and kind of another personal hero, to be honest. These are all people who just like do the thing. They do the thing, and it doesn't matter if like anybody gives a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
They give a fuck. So that's really all that matters.
Right.
And like that's beautiful.
We just did our thing.
We did our thing.
And on 3, we have to do the Parks and Rec look at camera.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. All right. We did good. That was
You
pretty
did better
good.
than I did.
No, did you see how serious? I mean, it was.
Well, you kind of like rotated more. I just sort of went like.
I was going
that.
for bigger, even though it's
Yeah.
subtle, because it's.
Well, listen, if you had been to an acting coach a couple of days ago, you would have known to just go really small with
I'm going
it.
to be very still in my goodbye here. She is the great K. Flay. Thank you so much for being on the show. And go see her play live. What a fun day this has been. Thanks so much for watching. Happy Snuggles. Bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed. Now hit that subscribe button. And for more Tuna on Toast, listen wherever you get your podcasts.